Have you ever felt like you're just drowning in a sea of confusing tasks and workflows that make no sense? Well, in this explainer, we're going to show you how to turn all that chaos into a masterpiece of clarity. We'll be using two super simple but really powerful tools, process maps and flowcharts. So let's get right into it. You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. What seems like a simple task at work suddenly turns into this impossible puzzle. You're not sure what the next step is, who's supposed to do what, or where things just went off the rails. It's not just frustrating, it's a huge waste of time. And that right there, that's the real cost of chaos. When nobody understands the process, simple tasks become these complex, frustrating puzzles. Teams get out of sync, and productivity just grinds to a halt. You know, it's kind of like trying to build IKEA furniture, but the instructions are in a language you've never seen before. Look, in any team, I don't care if it's a tiny startup or a giant corporation, being able to see how work actually gets done is absolutely crucial. It's not a nice to have. Because without a clear picture, you can't improve, you can't fix things when they break, and you definitely can't train new people effectively. So how do we fix this mess? We map it out. Simple as that. And for that, we've got our first tool, the process map. Its whole mission in life? To take all those invisible, assumed steps and drag them out into the light for everyone to see. A process map is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a visual guide that lays out the sequence of tasks and shows how everything connects. It really transforms a complex series of actions into a simple, easy-to-follow diagram. You can see right away how all the different parts interact. Okay, so every process has to have a clear beginning and a clear end, right? In the world of process maps, we use these rounded shapes, ovals, sometimes called terminators, to mark the start and finish lines. It sounds really basic, but this is so important for defining the scope of your workflow. Now we get to the heart of the process, the rectangles. This is where all the action happens. They represent the actual work that's being done, those individual tasks. Each rectangle is a specific step, like receive customer complaint or investigate the issue. This is where you detail the what of your process. And now for the drama, the diamond shape. This is where things get interesting. It represents a fork in the road, a moment of truth where a decision has to be made. It's almost always a yes or no question, like, is this complaint valid? These little diamonds are what create the different paths that make a process so dynamic. Let's see this in action with a customer complaint process. It starts with an oval, right? Then it moves to a rectangle for receive the complaint. Now we hit our diamond. Is it valid? If the answer is yes, we follow one path to investigate and resolve. If it's no, we might go down a different path to just inform the customer. And then finally, we end with another oval. See? In just a few simple shapes, we've mapped out an entire workflow. Process maps are fantastic, but what if we want to create diagrams that absolutely everyone can understand? No questions asked. Well, that's where flowcharts come in. You can think of them as the universal language of process mapping, a standardized way of drawing that everyone can speak. So a flowchart uses a globally recognized set of symbols, and that's its superpower. Because the symbols are standardized, anyone from any department, in any company, anywhere in the world can look at your flowchart and instantly get it. They're super simple to create, and everyone understands them. Now, flowcharts do introduce a few specialized symbols. One of the most common is the parallelogram. This slanted shape is used to show when data or materials are entering the process, that's an input, or leaving it, an output. So something like submitting an expense report would be an input, and you'd show it with a parallelogram. Okay, let's build a quick flowchart for an expense report. It starts, then immediately hits a decision. Is the report complete? Now, if it's no, see how the arrow loops back? It sends it right back to the employee. That's a key detail. If it's yes, it goes to the manager for another decision, approved. If yes, payment gets processed. If no, the employee gets notified. Each path leads to a clear, logical endpoint. The beauty here is that it handles all the possibilities so cleanly. So we know how to make them, but why are these diagrams so incredibly powerful? What's the real payoff for drawing a few shapes and arrows? Well, it turns out a simple picture can literally change how your entire team works. A clear map is like an X-ray of your workflow. It instantly shows you the bottlenecks where work is piling up. It shines a bright light on redundant steps you can just get rid of. It becomes the official guide for training, making sure everyone does things the same way. And when you need to sell an idea for a change, this visual does all the talking for you. And this is not just theory, folks. Flowcharts are the secret weapon for countless industries. They're used in quality control to make sure products are perfect, in customer service to make support faster, and in software development to design how an app should work. I mean, from project management to legal compliance, they really are the universal language of getting things done efficiently. Okay, so you've got the theory and you understand the why. Now it's time to turn all that knowledge into action. Let's talk about how you can create your very first masterpiece and start untangling some of that chaos in your own life. Here are 5 pro tips for success. First, keep it simple. Your goal is clarity, not creating some complex work of art. Second, stick to the standard symbols we talked about. Don't reinvent the wheel. Third, be consistent with how you label things. Fourth, and this one is huge, involve your team. They're the ones doing the work, and their input is pure gold. And finally, remember that processes change, so your map should be a living document that you update. So as we wrap up, I'm going to leave you with this question. Whether it's at work, a personal project, or maybe even just planning a family vacation, what's the one chaotic process in your life that you're going to map out first? Your journey from mess to masterpiece starts with drawing that very first oval.